On this week's show, former Moncton Wildcats standout and current Arizona Coyotes star forward Conor Garland. Thank you so much, Conor, for coming on Sports Inclusive. Obviously, the first question, how are you doing, and how's your family in this very uncertain time?
Yeah, it's obviously crazy times and still a lot of unknown. So you're just trying to be safe. Personally, I'm just trying to be safe and staying in my house here in Arizona. My family's doing well. They're back home. Everybody's just trying to stay safe, and it's really it. It's all you can do. It's just some slow times. So luckily, they have they're with each other. So it'd be nice if I can get home and join them. But as of now, I'm just staying in Arizona.
What's the latest? Have you heard anything from, um, the organization, or is it just stay patient and try to wait this out as long as we can?
Well, I think we just keep getting updates every 2 weeks, and it's been the same for it's been has it been a month now or a little over. So we've just been kind of getting the same updates of just stay inside, stay safe, and there's just no one really knows if or when we're going to play again. So right now, a lot of guys are just trying to stay in shape, and obviously, no one's allowed to skate, so that's tough. But talking to our teammates and stuff, everybody is just staying in shape as best as they can, and we're just waiting.
So, what does Conor Garland? What does the day look like for Conor Garland? How many workouts are you getting in?
I've tried one a day. Today's Wednesday, so I'm taking today off. And I was injured the second to last game before break, so the last 4 or 5 weeks have just been rehabbing my knee. Fortunately, it wasn't too serious, but something obviously you just want to take care of. So I've been dealing with that. But um, my day just consists of cooking some meals and watching whatever's good on TV or Netflix, or actually I play video games. I just was playing video games with a couple of my ex-junior teammates, so that's kind of how we were keeping busy.
Have you been watching any old games, picking up some tricks?
Yeah, I liked Gretzky's game was on where he scored the goal that put him over the record, and then I was a big Avalanche fan in the early 2000s when they traded for Ray Bork. So that was actually the first game I can remember watching, that Game 7 against the Devils. So I was watching that the other day, and that was obviously a little nostalgic, but I was just going back. Anytime they have some good Stanley Cup finals, I'll watch those.
Well, talking about the good old days, let's go way back. When did hockey become your thing? How old were you when you fell in love with the game, Connor?
Well, I can't put an age on it. I just know from seeing pictures and from very little, I was always walking around with a mini stick, a jersey, and I remember they used to make these Milik goalie helmets, and I tried to get all 30 NHL teams. So I would just walk around with that all day. I mean, I was constantly at the dinner table with my rollerblades on, or if my dad froze our street hockey court into a rink, I was eating dinner with the skates on. Or I just always loved it. It was, really never a doubt in my mind. I wanted to do it my whole life and try to make a living out of it. So it's hard to put an age on or when. It seemed like I was almost born into it.
How instrumental were your folks in really helping your journey and impacting your early years and creating that passion?
Yeah, for early years, I mean, obviously I wouldn't be here without my father. He drove me everywhere. Was someone who really didn't really push me too hard. It was kind of left up to me, and if I wanted to play in the NHL, then I knew how hard I had to work. But he gave me every opportunity, a skating coach, all that kind of stuff. Where we took advantage of all the stuff he could. So obviously I owe everything to him. And then as I got older, and the decision became major, junior, or college or stuff like that, they were instrumental in that and letting me pick. Obviously, I know a lot of guys who want to go junior and their parents, say, no, I mean, you want to get your education, and which is understandable, but my parents knew I had a passion for it, and we felt the best route was major junior, and that was kind of the last the last time they had an impact on, decision making for me.
You talk about the school, and we're going to get to that point, but let's go way, way back and talk about Jack Eichel. What was Jack like as a youngster, and what were those years like? Actually, you outscored him one year as well.
Well, he missed 4 games, so I'm sure if he had those 4 games, he would have surpassed me. But he was someone I played with from a young age. It's kind of funny. It's not like when we were growing up, he was not head and shoulders above everybody. He was, obviously a very good player, very talented at a young age. But when he hit 14, 15, there was a different level. He grew into his body. He had that long stride, and he can shoot the puck from anywhere. So when I was younger, I was someone I enjoyed playing with, and then especially as I get older, we obviously had a lot of competition, and someone that I career I watched closely as we got older, and obviously now when we're in meetings before games against Buffalo, the discussion is mostly about Jack. So he he's a game changer still now, but playing with him was special. I remember I would just be able to come across the blue, cut across the middle, or pull up and find him late, and he could shoot the puck from the blue line. He was beating guys at a young age, so he always had that ability to score from anywhere on the ice.
What you mentioned your dad. Obviously, he had a tremendous impact. What other coaches really helped you develop at a young age and really propelled you onto the major junior ranks?
Yeah, I had a few. Obviously, my I have really three personal trainers, one for strength coaching, one for skating, and then one for on ice play, and kind of just thinking the game and stuff like that. So those three, who I still work with, daily in the summer. We meet at the rink and we get lunch and we discuss our plan for the summer, and we go about our business. But I've had them since about 7 or 8, so it's been unbelievable. And I would say those three. Um, and then I would say, when I turned 13, I played for Team Massachusetts, and our coach was Bernie Cassell. He's the skills development for for Bridgeport Sound Tigers and the Islanders organization. So someone who worked, so hard with me, and someone who transformed my game to a different level. And you know, a lot of what I do now is still, seen throughout, those four coaches where we worked on stuff, you know, daily. And I would say those four are people who I wouldn't be here without them.
How close were you, Connor, to signing and going to the college route? And when did you make that decision, and how difficult was that decision for your family?
Well, I was close. Obviously, I committed to Penn State, but in a more real sense, I really was never close. I think my heart was in Moncton from the moment I went up there, and participated in the summer tournament. And I remember meeting with Danny Flynn that summer, who was the head coach at the time, and he was pretty honest and you know pretty telling of what Moncton had in store for me and what their plan was. And I remember leaving that meeting just knowing like that was the right spot for me. I think me and my dad both felt that. Obviously, being an American kid, you have almost pressure, and I had some people around me who were in college hockey and coaching college hockey, and sometimes you hear horror stories about junior, which mostly aren't true. And I think you guys have to go out and learn for themselves. So I think that's what I did. I took as much information as possible. I remember asking Moncton to send me games, and I'd watch a college game, and I remember watching the Mem Cup, and I still probably have the CD. Moncton had sent me about 3 games that I watched. So I was just trying to take in as much information as possible, and I think my heart was in Moncton. And unfortunately, I went to the USHL for about 3 months, but knew it wasn't the right fit. So I remember Danny Flynn called me in November and said the spot's still here if you want it, and he said I'm going to give you a chance to play, and that's all I ever asked for, just a chance for play and be able to prove myself. So we went there, and it obviously worked out pretty well.
Neil Hodge tells a story about the bus stopping, and
In Victoria,
all everyone's kind of like, what's going on? And word got out that yeah, well, we're gonna pick up this Conor Garland kid, and he tells the story obviously a lot better than I do, but all he remembers is this young, small kid jumping on the bus with a big smile on his face. Um, what was that moment like for you, and what were the first, your memories of putting the Wildcats jersey on for the first time?
Yeah, it was crazy. I was staying at the Montreal airport with my hockey bag and clothes. I was meeting them on the road. They picked me up, and we just went and played in Victoriaville the next night. Fortunate enough to score my first shift, so kind of broke the ice there and felt kind of at home after that. And it was crazy. It was kind of a great story to tell, but I remember we went right to a restaurant there in Montreal, and I sat down next to Sweeney, Jacob Sweeney, who was still one of my lifelong friends, and he was just so welcoming. And I remember just almost being thankful that I had somebody like that early on, where it's just so welcomed into an organization like that. And just going from there, I mean, obviously I was pretty small. Hadji's right. I was about 5'5", 130 pounds. So he's right on that. And then just going from there, it was a learning year for me. There was a lot of older guys, and um, I was fortunate enough to obviously learn from guys like Phil Deneau, who I still see in the summer, and Dmitry Yaskin and the Sané twins and guys like that, James Melindy. We just had a great older group that was taught me so much. So that was a huge year for me.
Well, Connor, we'll be right back. I can't wait to hear the stories, the Moncton Wildcat stories and beyond. So we'll be right back with more Sports Inclusive. So Connor, just before the break, we were talking about your first QMJHL game. Um, a lot has happened since that time, but your progression as a player and as a person, what did you learn in your time here in Moncton?
I think you learn, which is an advantage for major juniors, how to be a pro. I think, obviously it's a different level when you get to the pro level, but I mean, you're practicing each and every day and junior, and you're kind of almost, living on your own, living with the guys. Obviously, you live with the Billet family, but you're away from home, and I think you just like I said, you learn how to be a pro. You got to take care of your body, and um, you got to play, almost three games a week. So there's a lot to learn. Obviously, as a person, I learned you know, tons of stuff. Obviously, you go at 16 and you realize how to become, as good. You try to be as good as a teammate as possible, or as good as a person, and you learn how to deal with fans and stuff like that. All stuff you learn throughout the pro ranks. So I think that was a lot of stuff I learned in Moncton.
Did you ever think that you would accomplish what you did when you finally made the decision to come up north and play? And looking at that, you kind of paved the way for a lot of other American kids to see that young players and skilled players can really have an impact at the Q level.
Yeah, I think there wasn't really a doubt for me that I would have success up there. Like I said, I watched a lot of games, and at 15, where I was starting to see that the game kind of resembled a lot of my styles, and puck possession, one-on-one skill, and being able to make plays. Where I thought it's a little different in college. It's a little faster of a game, and I kind of like to slow it down a bit. So I saw a lot of things that could work for me up there. And yeah, I think something that I think special is I was one of the first Americans to go up there. And when teams have Americans that are interested, a lot of them have them call me, and I'm able to discuss the Quebec League with them. And especially obviously with Moncton, I've talked to a lot of Americans that haven't gone up or have gone up. So it's still something I do a lot in the summer. I do talk to a lot of guys and meet with them. But yeah, personally, I thought the Q was going to be a great fit, and it was. And you know, some days I look back and think of how hard it was of a decision, but I'm pretty thankful I made it.
Did when you got close to the franchise record in points, what was that ride like? And were you nervous coming down the stretch and knowing that you only had a handful of games to accomplish that record?
No, it's funny. I think my whole career producing points. It's funny. You can go into a slump, but you can always have a game with 3 or 4 or 5 points where I felt that some nights in the queue I always had that chance to do. So I was never really worried. I mean, um, obviously it got close there, but I just felt just one big game, and I'll be fine. And I remember I had it in Halifax. I think I had 4 points, so I knew right then I was going to get it. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, it was just such a great feeling. I mean, I really felt like, Moncton was, the first team that ever believed in me, gave me an opportunity to play. Um, and, it's pretty special to hold that record. And not gonna lie, if I don't look and, see how close some of those guys are getting, it makes me a little nervous, but hopefully I can hold that for a little longer.
Looking back at your time here, how disappointing was it not to hoist a President's Cup and two
Yeah.
amazing runs in your
Yeah.
last two seasons here?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think about that constantly. I think I have conversations in the summer, especially with Malatesta, and I ask you who we get lunch in the summer. But I mean, we talk about the memories and all the stuff we did away from the ice, but the conversation always ends up on that game 6 in Moncton and how we let that lead slip. So that kills me. I mean, I think about that constantly. I feel like if we won that game, that I think it might have been ours. So it's tough, but. And obviously, it's tougher this year that they didn't get a chance to, make a run at it. But yeah, something that I think about, and hurts. It does hurt. I won't lie, it hurts that we didn't get to win that.
Steve Sullivan, how important was Steve Sullivan to your journey in the game after the junior ranks and really propelled you into your professional career?
Yeah, very instrumental. Obviously, my first year, he was the development guy. A year that I struggled greatly, and right from the start, I was not playing much. I was stuck on the fourth line, playing about 4 or 5 minutes a game, so very hard to produce with that. And someone who kind of kept me sane, because obviously I came from leading the country and scoring 2 years in a row, and unfortunately wasn't you know put in a situation to produce, and that's what I thought I was good at. So it was hard for me, and I think Sully and me, thought maybe I should have been in a different role. So to have somebody have that trust in you and belief in you, still when you had 5 points, or 5 goals in a season, was huge for me. And going into the next year, he was, promoted to assistant GM, and obviously that's, you're in charge of Tucson, and that was a big, big year for me development wise. And I owe a lot to those coaches and Sully that year for really taking the next step in my career.
Craig Cunningham, how instrumental was he in your path and your path to the National Hockey League? And just a horrific incident uh, caused the end of his career. Um, I know you guys are incredibly close and were close. What impact did Craig have on your career as a leader and as a teammate?
Yeah, I think obviously, one of it was a tragic event, and something that it was brutal. I mean, I don't there's not much else you can say about it. He was someone that was my roommate and took care of me so much, and we spent constant nights sitting in the hot tub or on the couch just chatting, and someone who knew I was struggling at the start of the year and had a hard time dealing with it, and you know someone I could talk to each and every day, and someone I still talk to a lot about my game, and I we constantly are watching games together and stuff like that. But he's such an amazing person, and as a captain, he really had the command of the room like I've never seen before, and just the utmost respect from each and every teammate. And we lost him as a team. It was awful. But someone who I think whatever route he chooses in the game of hockey is going to have success, and I think someone who any team in the NHL would be very lucky to have in their organization.
How close were you to testing the free agent market with regards to, if you look at your first couple seasons in the American Hockey League, some adversity there that you've already mentioned. That third season, you finally got your opportunity to skate at hockey's highest level. How close were you looking at free agency that summer?
I would have been a restricted free agent, and
That's right.
so yeah. So I mean, that was really never a thought in my mind. I think when the Coyotes came to me with a contract, I think I looked at it as 2 more years to become the player I want to be, and it keeps my foot in the door in the NHL. And I only had 47 games as my resume in the NHL, and I felt like there was another level for me to get. So I think that was how I viewed the contract. It's just 2 more years to develop in the NHL, and I think it's a huge advantage having a one-way contract. So looking back on that contract, when I was offered with a one-way, it felt like it was the right deal for me. And obviously, my contract ends next year. It's going to be a different situation, so than the last one. But it's hard to think about that stuff, and luckily, that's my agent's job, and I don't really ever think about it. I think of it as more as I'm lucky, very lucky to play in the NHL, and hopefully be able to do it for a long, long time.
What was that first game like, and how nervous were you?
I wasn't very nervous. I wanted to know what it was like. Really, that was my first thought. Was I want to see how fast it is, and how good these guys are. I was terrible. I was terrible in my first game. I couldn't make a play. I couldn't do anything. So I was very fortunate enough to get another look. I think that was my thought. Please just let me get another game. And fortunately, I did. And it was in Boston, and I played pretty well, and I felt comfortable. And I remember telling my dad and my trainer after the game, I can play in this league, and I'm not nervous or worried about that. It's just hopefully I can get an extended time and extended amount of looks to be able to prove that over a stretch. And I was fortunate enough to get that, and kind of got hot and had some goals early on, and was able to solidify myself.
How important is it for players like you, Connor, that see the game and read the game so well, uh, amazing hockey IQ and hockey sense, to be given an opportunity to actually play and to have some success in a top six role?
Yeah, I think that's something that's huge. I think I've been on the Wildcats where we had 16-year-olds that I thought were phenomenal players, and unfortunately you're put in a fourth line role, and you can lose your confidence really easily, and start to think of yourself as a fourth line player. And I think that's tough for some guys. And I went through that in the American League where I began to think maybe I'm not a top six player. And but fortunately I was put in that role the next season, and obviously in the NHL I started on the fourth line, and I think as time went on and the better I played, I earned my minutes and earned, moving up into the lineup. And, fortunately it was, I found chemistry with some guys, including, Dvorak and Schmaltz and, Taylor Hall as of recently. So, but yeah, I think my game's changed a lot since Moncton where, I like to play a little faster and, get in on the forecheck and try to create turnovers. Um, where in Moncton I try to play a lot slower and, make more plays. But here you got to play faster, and I've been able to adjust.
How difficult is it earning the trust of your coach at the National Hockey League level?
Yeah, it's hard. I think it took me a few years to earn Darren's trust in Moncton. So um, I remember being told by my assistant coach in Tucson, Steve Potvin, because I had trouble learning my coach's trust in Tucson. He said just look at it as 40 games. He said if you can play the right way for 40 games, that's how you earn somebody's trust. And I took that message to heart, and I remember there's about 50 games left in the regular season, and by the time playoffs came around, I was on the first line and playing last 3 minutes of games and all that kind of stuff. So I took that message, this year with talk, and I tried to just play the right way for a long extended period of time. And fortunately, it, I believe I earned his trust, and hopefully continue to earn his trust. So that's something I thought was key to having success here at the end of the season.
Well, Connor, continued success at the National Hockey League level, and we really hope things get straightened away. Thank you so much for taking the time today. Stay safe, and best wishes for you and your family moving forward in these uncertain times.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it. Stay safe, and everybody wash your hands and socially distance. So everybody stay safe in New Brunswick. Miss you guys.